So Craig's Cruisers, I went and tried the new Ninja course.
Oh, okay.
It was fantastic.
So it's Ninja Warrior style.
Oh yeah, and they have that curved wall. I watched a 6-year-old go right before me. He gets to he did everything super fast. He was really impressive. He gets this wall and just runs right into it. He slipped on that curved part of the wall and just face first smashed his head and rolled backwards.
Is it like padded at least?
No.
No.
This kid ran into a wall.
What do you think the liability is on something like that?
Well, you sign a waiver before you can do it, so I would say the liability is nothing.
Awesome. Totally awesome.
Welcome to the Couch Trolls Podcast with your hosts, Dave and Das Bruce.
How you doing, man?
Not too bad. It's spring break. How about yourself?
Is it really spring break?
Yeah, apparently when you have kids, they don't have school, so you don't have work. Otherwise, you pay a ton in daycare.
Oh, man. So you've just been camping out the house then, huh?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, you get that like excited feeling where you get to just kind of hang out and you're like, oh, I'm on spring break too now. You kind of like get to join in with your kids. No, it's not like that. You're actually a parent for more hours of the day, and you get to relax even less.
That does not sound very fun.
No, but at the same time, I get to play around with the kids, and we go karting, and I've been playing a ton of kids games, which is it's one of those things where you kind of go through phases where a kid will like one game for a long time, and then you'll finally move on to another game.
Have you moved on to another game then?
No.
What is the current game you're on then?
Well, my son likes Trove, which is a free-to-play nonsense game, and then it's kind of good
What do you
for
mean
kids.
nonsense game?
It's one of those games where it's like you can very limited with lots of pay to play kind of things. I don't
What
want
is the gameplay style?
I don't even want to get into it. It's
You don't want to give them any advertisement?
No, none. Trove isn't good, especially for parents who have to watch their kids play games.
That way they don't accidentally buy everything.
I highly don't recommend Trove.
Okay, good to know.
On the other hand, we played not Disney Infinity, Disney Universe, which is the better version of Disney Infinity.
Does that work with your Toys to Life thing?
No, it doesn't, and that's what makes it great. It's essentially the Toys to Life model where they give you everything in the game. It was Disney's game for like the PS3, Xbox 360 era.
Okay.
And all
Did they do that before the Toys to Life stuff?
It was several years before that, and it's a really cool game where you have like a standard character that dresses up in costumes, kind of like Costume Quest.
Okay.
The costumes have no point whatsoever except for cosmetic look. And what you do is you just play through different levels, and it teaches your kid how to use an analog controller.
Nice.
How to jump, how to double jump, how to read basic like puzzles. There's like puzzles where there'll be like two turrets and you have to like sneak between the two turrets without being hit. And then they'll give you like a couple objects. So it kind of teaches you really basic puzzle mechanics.
That's kind of cool then. Teach you very basic platformer stuff too, it sounds like.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part about parenting and video games is where do you start with video games for kids? And without going into Nintendo, which Nintendo is just a gold mine for kids games, PlayStation and Xbox on the other hand are a real struggle. So it's been kind of nice to be able to kind of play around with like Little Big Planet and Disney Universe, and I guess some of the other like racing games. My son likes racing games, so
That's cool.
I'll play whatever racing game with him.
Nice. Dude, you got to get on that Blur at some point in time. Have you played Blur?
I still haven't played it.
Oh, Blur is awesome. I don't think that many people know about Blur. Blur's fantastic.
Well, and that actually brings us to the whole point of today's show. I mean, we've been getting a lot of recommendations to kind of talk about games that we like and the cheap games that other people can get into.
Yeah, so we took a request and we decided to go and kind of come up with a list of stuff that people have not heard of, really. Well, I went with a more obscure list because let's be honest, I'm more the retro guy. So like my stuff is like...
Oh, they're a little more pricey.
Super Nintendo, they're going to be a little more pricey. You, I think, got away with what you kind of showed me with your list.
Dude, I rated GameStop and went for the $5 or less bin. And I'm not going to lie, I would play any of these games on any day. And then I also got a gem in there that for any of the PS2 people out there.
Some of them got So the kind of parameters for this was try to find games like... For me, I had to go like under 20, under 40, and then, so we got like two range of games for like stuff that you might not have heard of, or just fun games that you might have missed. And then we went with like one, if you're willing to throw down a lot of money, a really good hidden gem that probably not a lot of people got a chance to play. But most of your games, I think, are actually backwards compatible too.
Yeah, and that was the other kind of thing. The difference between you and I, you really suffer from dealing with that market that the gaming market's crazy right now because any of the newer games from PS3, maybe even PS2 and newer, falls into this market where they're constantly selling the games on newer consoles and, PlayStation Classics, or you have Steam. And I mean, just all sorts of different mechanics to get those kind of games out, re-releasing those games. Your games, on the other hand, most of those are either on a mini NES or a Super NES or not at all. And so they're just kind of trapped in that time, which is great because it's going to help people that have those older consoles that may want a new game for it. Or me, so in that after this podcast, you can get off, go look on Steam or go to your local GameStop and pick up one of them.
Yeah. I don't think a single one of my things has ever... Well, actually, no, one of them might have been released. Let's jump into your list first, though. So what do you got first on your list?
Okay, I'm going to go with the obvious game that when I saw it for $3, I can't not recommend this game enough, and it's Gears of War 3. I mean, I know that the world suffers from... You sell 20 million copies of a game. Obviously, it's not going to be worth a whole bunch, but I've put hundreds of hours into Gears of War 3 between its horde mode, its 4-player co-op, its competitive online, the PvE online. I mean, this is an all-in-one package, and I mean, you're part of it. I mean, we hoarded.
We did.
To death.
We did. We hoarded pretty hard. Isn't friend of the show Ned? I'm pretty sure every year for his birthday, you guys renew your gold subscription on 360 just to play.
Xbox gets money out of us for one game and one game only, and it's Gears of War 3.
Okay, so question in regards to why you picked that one, because that's not really all that obscure or odd of a game. Is it just because it's so available and that does do 4-player co-op, right?
Yep, and I always think not only, especially going with the newer games, I'm looking for games that are timeless. And the fact, like what you just said, this June, I'm coming back to the game and I'm going to be playing with some friends. We're going to play Horde mode. We don't need to play online. We can play local. Also, it is now backwards compatible with Xbox One, which means there are servers that are going to support the online features. It may be a very small, limited amount of people online, but I still feel like the game still has a lot of quality today, and it really does hold. The gameplay holds up, and $3. I can't get over the fact that it costs like as much as 2 pop or 2 sodas. Depending on where you are.
We do have multiple listeners spread everywhere. No, I think, okay, I can see that actually being good. Yeah, you get a lot of value for your money. Plus, all the modifications that you can unlock for it, too, to actually go and, revamp the game. Do you have, where you can, put people on fire and stuff? And there's, a whole bunch of fun,
the cheat code
the cheat code thing. One of the few games to actually still kind of incorporate something like that.
I mean, really, it's a sound story. I mean, just to top everything off, the game actually pulled off the online, the local co-op, and the story. I mean, it's very rare to see those AAA games nail everything, and this game is timeless to me.
Nice. All right.
So what do you got on your list?
Let's see here. All right. Well, I'm going to actually start out with something relatively newer that I don't think... Okay.
Newer.
This is maybe the newest thing on my list. Game that people overlook very often is Buffy the Vampire Slayer for original Xbox. This is hands down probably one of the best 3D platformers I've played, and not in the sense of it's more of a fighting game than a platformer, but it handles platforming really well.
Is it a hack and slash?
It's kind of like a hack and slash, but the platforming elements are not awful. So it's made by The Collective, and I think that they reuse the same game engine. A lot of people know them for the Indiana Jones game that everyone loves on Xbox and stuff. And it's really good. The whole original cast, minus Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Of course. Of course.
Well, okay, here's the thing.
The one person that people would really know.
Here's the thing, though. The whole cast goes and actually comes back and voices it. It's a storyline that I think takes place in between the second and third season, if I remember correctly. So it's actually technically canonical.
Tied into the lore.
It's canonical. It's totally
Nice.
in the lore. The fighting mechanics are awesome because it plays almost like Fighting Force.
Okay.
So it's really good. It's single player. That's the only downside. The hit detection is super important on it. So if you try to stake a dude and you hit him in the face, doesn't kill him. You have to kill everyone by actually staking him, or you can grab him, throw him and impale him on environmental stuff or burn him in lava.
Nice.
So it has that cool element to it. You can like do a crossbow and you just snipe people.
How much did you see it for when you looked it up?
It's like $20 range actually.
Okay, so because I know those Xbox games usually just plummet in value because most of them are garbage.
Some
But
of them
every
plummet,
once in a while,
some of them are up. So like I said, I got the retro thing, so it's like my stuff is a little bit harder. So like it's under 20. I've seen it from about 10, 20.
I mean, I think what's kind of crazy about that though, how many times is a game based on a TV show good?
Right? Like never. Like almost never.
We just last show we talked about Tomb Raider and how movie video games are usually pretty bad. So it's crazy to think that you make a TV video game. Like I've seen like The Sopranos, and I mean they've made such a there's a Friends video game.
That's to be fair, that's a trivia game.
Is it?
And it's called the one with all the knowledge, or the one with all the trivia, I think, because that's how every episode is titled on the show.
But I mean, that's just a crazy like one-off, and I'm actually glad you bring something like that up because that is something that no one's gonna play, especially now.
It's just super good. It had a lot of memorable stuff. The level design was good. The lore of the world, just everything about this game, I cannot stress enough. It was actually the first game I got with my Xbox, and it's just so enjoyable. The sound, the design, it utilizes the controls as horrible as the controller was around that time. We still had the Duke at the time.
Oh, really?
I believe, yeah.
Man, I hated the original Xbox. The white and black buttons are what killed me. You know what those remind me of? It reminds me of the Z button from the GameCube. It's like, why does this button exist?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, I mean, besides that, and the Duke was obviously oversized.
The S controller, the small one,
okay
the S controller, the smaller one, had it where you can kind of hit it with like the, what is that, like the under knuckle of your
The fact that you don't even know what you're hitting it with means that the controller sucked.
No, because you do the same thing with the Super Nintendo. I did like my Super Nintendo move. So it's like when I was playing Super Nintendo and you're playing like a racing game, you'd hold down the B button with like the under knuckle of your thumb. I got to figure out what part. Please, someone in the medical field.
The crease in your knuckle.
Please tell us what this part of your thumb is. I'd hold that down there, and then you just like wiggle the top of your thumb to go and hit the Y button on a Super Nintendo.
You're basically just trying to hit two buttons with one thumb.
So I'd reverse that, and I'd like hold down the A button on the Xbox and hit black and white with with that knuckle thumb part.
Well, and then this weekend I'm heading up to C2E2 down in Chicago.
Yeah.
So I'm not really heading up, I'm heading down. But to kind of go with the flow of that, there's a game I love, and it follows actually my favorite comic book of all time. It's The Darkness 2.
That was your tie-in. I was like, where are you going with C2E2 on this? C2E2 is comics.
I mean, going back, we talked about comic books and games, and Darkness kind of fell in this like weird gap where it was a pretty big comic in the 90s, and it was ultra violent. It kind of fell in close with Spawn.
Okay.
So you have this game that came out as a launch title for PS3 called The Darkness, and people thought this was like a new IP. No one had ever heard of it, and most people had no idea that it was a comic book.
But really, it had this awesome lore and background.
Oh yeah, and there's well over 150 issues of The Darkness.
How many of those do you have now?
All 150
Do you
plus.
really?
Yeah.
Did you actually complete that collection?
Oh yeah, I have the complete collection, plus I have several chronicles of like mini like Tales of Darkness and Darkness Origins.
You got Darkness vs. Hulk?
I do. And Darkness vs. Superman.
Nice.
Yeah, so Darkness takes all. It's good. So to kind of go on that, the first Darkness game struggled a lot because it was a launch title game. It really struggled graphically. It struggled with loading times. It struggled with mechanics because everything was new to that, especially because I think they tried to use 6-axis a little bit, and that was never acceptable to me as a type of controller.
For PlayStation 3 you're talking?
Yeah.
They had that.
Yeah, there was like ways to move around using 6-axis. It was never necessary, but what happened is... You're
almost always better going with 360 for that one.
Yeah, and actually, I don't know if it's even on 360.
Really? I thought it was.
It's something I would have to look into, but I never had it on 360. My first experience was on the PS3. But what they did right with the second one, I'm curious how they even got a second one, because I know the first one didn't do very well. And again, it was an ultra-violent game. It was real dark, and... I think it overlooked. So the second one comes out, they completely revamped it. They went ahead and they followed much closer to comic books. They also went cell shading, which I think cell shading is the key.
Well, it goes in it. Preserves the style and also preserves the graphics of the game, so that way it kind of carries over for a longer period of time and generally will hold up better. Yeah. Anything that's cell shaded usually doesn't look like crap, 10 years later.
But I think what cell shading really does for a comic book game is it gives it the comic book look. And when you get ultra violent, Borderlands, I can play Borderlands even today, and that one looks great. And it has that violence, but it's not too much. But this game had everything. It had split screen co-op. It had like these separate 8 missions you could do as a co-op. It had a great story, and it just had endless fun. Like, I absolutely love it.
Give me some of the gameplay though, because I mean, you can't just describe all the best aspects of a game without explaining how it plays, man. Come on.
I mean, it essentially plays where it's a first-person shooter.
Okay.
Where darkness is, he's strong at night because he basically has he's cursed, and he has a darkness relic that is attached to him that he gets when he turns 21. What it is this darkness kind of plays itself as 2 tentacles in the game that essentially treat it as 2 extra arms. So not only do you have dual pistols, but you have demon fate tentacles that can slice people in half, pick them up, and destroy them. And you also have dark trolls that you can use, and they're called darklings. And I mean, you get really deep into the lore of the comic book.
So it's like a FPS with some magic and stuff, elements. So are you just pretty much using all 4 shoulder buttons at any given time then?
Yeah, you totally. And that's what works perfect with it is you got the front 2 for your hands and the back 2 for the tentacles.
Okay.
And you can combine for grapples, the back.
So you just grab a dude, hold him there, and just shoot him?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Or you grab them, you shoot them, and then you rip them in half and get a bunch of energy back.
Just use a dude as a human body shield.
I mean,
so
you can.
Kind of God of War style then, where you're just killing people for health?
Kind of.
And slashing.
Actually, you're killing people and you're eating their hearts.
Okay.
You'll go through their body, take their heart out, and crush the heart in your hand, in your tentacle hand.
Nice.
I mean, this game is brutally violent, but it just hits all the right notes for us comic fans.
Warning, children, rated M for mature. I don't know what Peggy's standards are.
Okay, let's see what kiddie games you got on your list.
You know what? Actually, if you're going to be a jerk about it, I'm going to say a game that I know that you'll like and you can't even deny. Sega Genesis, Bonanza Brothers.
I think I introduced you to that game.
You did, actually. Yeah, we were classic game hunting back. Oh, God.
Probably 2009, 2010.
Yeah, so quite a while ago. This is one of those, 20 and under games. I think ballpark around about $10. Somewhere in between there. But it is a really cool, stylized, I'm saying this for the audience benefit because I already know that you know everything about this damn game because we've put in so many hours. It is a almost 3D graphics while being 2D type heist game. So what it is the best part is it's 2-player co-op. It's honestly not that great as a single-player game. As a matter of fact, I think the screen is always broken up into split screen.
Always broken.
So if you're not playing the second half of the screen, it's literally just black waiting for someone to go and hit start and jump in. So it's a waste of screen space, which I really wish they'd make a sequel for it. But it's a heist game. So you get the layout of a map and the idea is to go through, collect all the items, and then work your way to the exit. And the goal is you got these little pop guns. So anyone you shoot stuns. It's like a side scrolling, not really good on platforming.
I think it kind of feels more like a puzzle game as you play it. It's a heist puzzle game.
It does because the guards have a certain pattern and different guards act certain ways, and you can hit levers to go and crush guards and everything. It's very cartoony. You step on a rake and it smacks you in the face and knocks you back and you get stunned, which gives you the guards time to run up and hit you. And if you get hit, you got to go and recollect all your gear.
Yeah, but, and I mean, I introduced you to that game because I was a Sega kid. You were a Nintendo guy. What I remember,
Super Nintendo for life.
Yep. Well, I had the Sega with Sonic 2 for a year with no other games. But eventually,
how did you discover the game then?
Blockbuster.
Really?
I got it in the wrong case.
No way.
Yeah, they accidentally gave it to me instead of whatever game I was supposed to rent. And I just came across it because they screwed up.
That's awesome.
And not only did I love it, but I returned it and got my money back.
Of course.
I mean,
it's only sweeter to you if you can somehow get money back.
Well, I still wanted the game I originally went there for. So I was like, well, I'm going to play this for a couple hours until my parents come home so they can take me back to Blockbuster. But so what really stands out to me is, one, how many heist games were there back then? Between Super Nintendo, Nintendo, and Sega, there's probably only maybe a couple games.
I honestly can't name any off the top of my head. I know that there's some crappy heist games on Nintendo 64, and I think, if you want to count Mission Impossible, those are terrible mission objective stuff too.
And then you think of how many good co-op games are there for Sega?
barely any.
So
I mean, you have Sonic series, of course.
but no one wants to be Tails. So you have the
Are
competitive.
you Tails is Invincible.
I
but
know,
growing
but
up, growing up, the kids were like, I want to be Sonic.
competi-
I want to be the main character.
You want to be in the competitive mode where you just go through level to level rush. Otherwise, you don't want to play that game. But this is a game it's a legit co-op puzzle game.
Yeah.
And it plays really well. And I mean, I didn't play with anyone at the time, so I didn't get the real experience. But I always remembered that game being kind of cool because I was like, it's just something you've never seen
like
before.
I said, those graphics too, they're kind of weird because they are like almost Killer Instinct style, where it's not. I mean, it's not that big of a pixel. It's like dumbed down. It almost looks like they kind of look like minions now that I think about it.
I don't
like it's this simple geometry where
really,
it looks like a pill-shaped guy and then there's like a ball-shaped guy. But it was like pseudo 3D computer generated.
It was not graphics.
So,
stage.
but I think because of that, the graphics kind of hold up if you know what you're looking at. So yeah, it was that weird thing where like everything was kind of made out of like balls and pill shaped stuff. Really fun. It's light on the puzzle element, so I can't stress it.
But it does get hard.
It does. It gives you the map at the start, and you actually have to kind of plan out at which point of the stairs you go up to go to the next floor to grab stuff or go down, because usually your exit's on a roof or the back end of a building. So you kind of have to plan your route, and it's easier if you divide and conquer, but there's certain enemies with like shields that will block your little stun bullets. So then that's where the cooperative element, where if you can get someone to sneak up behind him by going like all the way to the next set of stairs on the floor, going up and then popping them from behind.
I'm starting to realize how hard this one is to explain. I think I'm going to actually post something on Facebook.
We should.
I'm definitely going to put a video of that game up because that game is so unique that it's worth at least looking at, even if you have no intention of playing it on a Sega.
I think it's in I think it was in some collections too now.
I'll check my Sega collection if so, and maybe we'll just throw it down and record some of our own stuff.
Oh, we could totally do that. I'd be down. What's next on your list though, sir?
So to kind of continue on with the shooter stuff, I mean, if you really think about back in the PS2, PS3, Xbox 360, you got a lot of shooters. First-person shooters were huge, and they also, throughout that generation, came up with a lot of creative aspects to shooters. So my next game is actually Bulletstorm. And to lead into Bulletstorm, the reason I bought Bulletstorm is to get the Gears of War 3 demo. Or it was the beta. So me and friend of the show, Ned, went ahead and bought it just to play the beta. And it was crazy because everyone I knew that bought it was sucked into the beta immediately. And I was sucked into Bulletstorm.
Well, it was technically the publisher was what, Epic, right?
It was People Can Fly.
People Can Fly, I thought that was Cliffy B's thing, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And so People Can Fly, they come up with this game. And what they did is they kind of turned the shooter upside down by making it
by making it fun.
Well, actually by turning it into an arcade.
Yes.
So what they did is they made a stylized game where every type of kill has an associated point score to it. And what you do is how you play the level determines how many points you get per kill.
Skills for kills, my friend.
Skills for kills. That could have been their tagline.
I think it was at one point in time.
I believe it. But, I mean, this game had its really crazy Borderlands look where it was, Mad Max style. But then you get this crazy Leash where you can just throw people in the air and put things into slow motion. And, I mean, crazy guns where you'd have, like, rockets on the end of your hand cannon.
So the leash mechanic I thought was probably the most brilliant thing there. Because the leash you could use to pull people towards you, and then you could, like, kick them from there away from you, smash them into another person, shoot another person, and like one person goes off of a cliff, another gets impaled on like a cactus or something.
Yep. Iconic cactus.
Yes.
But I mean, even with that, I feel like the Leash was the combo connector. It was really that you had your kick, you had your guns, and then you had all like your specialty weapons. But really that Leash is what kind of started it all, because there would be moves where you smash the Leash into the ground, pop people in the air, put them in slow motion, and you start your combo up.
Yeah, it's like a score-based Max Payne almost, where you would just go and it's like, okay, as soon as you go and activate the slow-mo by like engaging an enemy, then it turns into this whole ridiculous. It's almost like the Tony Hawk system where you're like trying to build lines based on what's in the environment, where are the people at, how do I do this?
And that brings up a good point. Now, what really made me love the game is the fact that there were other people playing it, and I loved the leaderboards. Dude, that's what made me so obsessed with the game is I always felt like I could do better on every level. So it had this crazy replayability that other shooters didn't have.
Well, you also had like a weird co-op missions too with people online. Because I remember you playing, you're like, yeah, we've just been volleying this guy's body for 3 minutes by kicking it over like a wall at each other.
They had the very broken anarchy mode, which was 4-player like survival mode where you just racked up points and you had to get certain amounts of points to get to the next wave. And it was so broken where early on it had a lot of issues. And then, I mean, the reason I brought it up too is because they just re-released it as an HD game for the PlayStation 4, which is also very cheap. Because I think the Bulletstorm on Xbox 360, I saw it for $3.
Well, they also, because you have it on 360, they just released for what?
PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Nice.
And probably Steam.
And they added Duke Nukem too, didn't they? It's like a weird bonus character.
And the crazy thing is, Duke fits perfect
in that universe. Yes.
I mean, it was the best Duke game I've ever played. But I don't know. Like if you're really just looking for a fun game, this is a perfect game. And for a $3 price tag, and if you have the last generation game system, play it. If you don't, try to find it on the new system. And again, I've seen the game under $20 for PlayStation 4. I still recommend the game, and there actually are people playing the online this time. Last time they didn't.
Story mode too at least lets you like run through, and like there's like a small upgrade system too for the guns and all that, and each gun kind of handles differently and has like an alternative fire. So
yeah, I mean the game played like
the bullet,
every other.
The sniper rifle bullet.
Oh yeah, they had guided sniper rifle bullets.
Yeah, you shoot a sniper rifle bullet and you can like run it around and just like nail some dude in the crotch from like 100 yards away.
There was like a twisting bullet
post
that it would go into them, and then they would just fly all over the place.
That's awesome.
I mean, the game again. I guess I picked a lot of mature games, but
it was aimed for fun though, man.
But it was awesome, and it was one of those few games at that time that stood out from the rest of the shooters, where it was like Call of Duty, and then whatever else, and then BioShock when the first one came out, that one stood out in the same kind of sense. This one kind of brought the arcade element that I think shooters needed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, it's one of those beautiful things that kind of takes a genre, combines it, and mixes it up, and it's just a little different. Where I don't think that it was able to be marketed as well, maybe, but it's a hell of a lot of fun.
I feel like the marketing was more for the beta for Gears of War 3 than it was its own game.
Exactly.
And I think it fell flat because of that. Because
Probably.
It had so many people pumped up for the Gears beta that when they got it, they didn't even start the game. They went immediately to the beta.
People did that with Crackdown for the Halo 3 thing, though. Crackdown was a great game, and
that's exactly what happened. Crackdown is the Xbox version of it. Or, well, no, they were both for Xbox.
Screwed either way. All right.
So what's next?
So next on my list is now once again retro games being a little more expensive and harder yet. I gotta go with the like 40 and under range because I've seen this like probably around 30, but actually did do a legit puzzle game for once. Actually, I think a couple.
What do you consider a puzzle game exactly?
Puzzle game is something where there is strategy and planning kind of put out behind it. I guess every game I like has some sort of puzzle element, but like for instance, I wouldn't count Zelda as like a puzzle game. You know what I mean? There's puzzle elements, and that's a big part of the game, but that's not its primary function. Exactly. So this has a little bit more of the puzzle element, not too much, but it's kind of like a puzzle platformer. So the game that I picked was Spanks Quest.
It's like his name.
Okay, so I did not want to play this game for the longest time because I saw it everywhere, and it's like this like super cute, almost like chibi monkey looking thing, and I'm like, what the hell is this? He's like on a beach. It looks like almost like Adventure Island, and
looks
I'm
like a kid's game.
It looks like a kid's game. It is. No kid is going to be able to navigate these controls. Like it is definitely something for more of like a mid-teen range game. So it's actually made by I can't pronounce the name.
Try again.
You say it.
I don't know what game it is. I don't know anything about this game.
Who did Nasume? There we go. Nasume. The guys who did what is it? The gardening game that everyone loves so much. Harvest Moon. I'm losing it. Well, I never got to play the Harvest Moon games, man.
Well,
everyone's gonna hate me for that. Please don't hate me for that. I'm gonna catch so much flack.
I want to see comments.
No. Hate David for him and his stupid money grabbing loving ways. I returned Bonanza Brothers and I got my money back, even though I enjoyed it.
You were saying?
Anywho, so Spanks Quest was like this weird looking game. The box art always kind of threw me off. And it turned out to be really a wonderful, delightful platformer. But it had like puzzle elements because there's these little vegetables running around and you have to go and illuminate the vegetables. But the way that you eliminate them is by popping a bubble that then releases some sort of sports ball. And I'm not saying that to be like generic. Like one of them is a tennis ball. The other's like dodgeballs. Another's like basketballs, but they have different attack patterns. But the way that you initiate your attack is you push like the A button and then it releases a bubble. And then when you hit the A button again, it pops it. But if you hit the bubble with your head, you keep the bubble in the air and you upgrade the level of attack every time and it changes up the sports ball. So it's this really...
Seems pretty intricate for
It's super intricate and weird, but it's fun and it's all level based and it's got the save system. There's kind of a save system with a password system in it. So it's easy to go and like play, get a password, put it down, leave, come back, pick it up. And it's a lot of fun. It was just something so incredibly unique that I never thought that I would enjoy. And when I first played it, I'm like, I did not understand the controls at all.
So when you came back when you were older?
Well, no, I got it. And like, I put it down. And I'm like, there was something that pulled me back to it. I didn't quite understand it. I didn't quite like it when I first played it. Cause I'm like, cause the bubble, if you hit them with a bubble and not the sports ball, it just stuns them temporarily. But you use those stuns to kind of navigate around the area, around the level. And then the bubble or the sports ball, once it clears screen, that's when you get to respawn your shot again. So it's this whole like timing, movement, arcing shot thing. Actually, you know what it reminds me of from more modern games?
What?
Playing Moira in Overwatch, where you got to bounce crap off walls
really?
and to get the timing.
No wonder you like her so much.
It's a platform. That makes sense now. Okay, I've just had a sudden realization. Exactly.
And see, and it's crazy. And looking back now, labels had to say so much because that's all that was really selling those games.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's crazy that they would market it like just a random kids game, and then it'd be something like that. But then there'd be games I would play, like the Bonanza Brothers. You just had no idea what to expect.
The cover is like the two of them like jumping from a non-explosive. Like it looks like they're jumping from an explosion, and they're like all awkwardly posed, and there's no explosion. And the thing too with at least with your game collection, you know, someone can walk in, look at the back of the box because most of them had plastic boxes. Where Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis era,
most of those were gone right
those
away.
Stupid cardboard boxes for many of those. I mean, Genesis had some plastic boxes.
Yeah, I think the Genesis ones even today hold up much better, where you see a lot more of those kind of flowing through the market than you do with the other ones, because even 64, like people destroyed those.
Well, once again, it was those cardboard boxes. Nintendo did not jump on the plastic box bandwagon, which sucks. So it's like kids would cut out, those boxes. They would go and, oh, look, I got my favorite character. So all these cardboard boxes are horribly destroyed for original box art. But that's where you got your descriptions for games. So like a lot of the Super Nintendo, original Nintendo,
and the booklets too.
Genesis games, yeah.
Booklets went with those cardboard boxes.
Yep, because that's where the booklets were stored.
And I always remember like the rental stores, they would like they'd wedge these booklets with the games for rental.
Yep.
The first person who rented it never returned that booklet.
Oh yeah,
it was toast after one
rental. If you weren't
rental.
the first one renting that, usually you weren't getting the book. That was awful.
But no, I mean that's interesting, and I don't know. It still drives me crazy that there were so many cool puzzle games like throughout all the generations that I'm just now appreciating. Like kind of a side recommendation.
I think
Katherine, dude.
Oh, Katherine is amazing.
And Katherine's one of those games where I think the sexual mature like sales approach was not the way to sell that game, because that game had a crazy puzzle element.
You know what? We'll add one then as like a mutual lost gem that you guys can probably pick up, because that's got to be about $20.
Yeah,
20 to 40 range.
Katherine's going to be a pretty cheap game because they're also remaking that one.
Oh, nice.
And what they're doing is they're adding online multiplayer versus mode.
Nice.
But I mean, just I guess now that we're just throwing it in here.
Let's do Katherine.
Katherine, it's an Xbox 360 PS3 game that it's made by Atlas, and how it's sold is it's basically a guy that's going through, would you say, dreams?
Nightmares, maybe?
More nightmares. But he just experiences some of the craziest, like, memorable things ever. And he's got, like, goat horns on his head, and he's, like, in his underwear running.
Sheep. It's all sheep because it's Dream.
Oh, yeah, it's sheep. I mean, you played a little bit deeper than I did.
Forever ago, yeah.
But I just remember, like, It was just this weird game with this crazy storyline about cheating on your what wasn't.
So the rough storyline, I'll go into the story because I think I remember it a little bit better because I was starting to get heavily into puzzle games around that time. It's the story of this guy, and the whole thing is told through like this beautiful cinematic of like almost an anime actually for sequences.
It's definitely an anime.
It's the anime alone would probably hold up by itself. I don't know if it's based off an anime or not.
No,
I never did too much research on that. But there's this anime going on, and while that's happening, you're getting this story of this guy, but he keeps having these like reoccurring dreams of like terrible things. And the reason why those are happening is it's like something involving like his girlfriend or something. But his girlfriend he's kind of cheating on her, and you're trying to make the moral dilemma choice of he meets another girl named Katherine, but it's like Katherine with like a K instead.
Yep. It makes you make these crazy moral choices where you feel dirty no matter what your answer is.
Oh, yeah. It's like at the end, it's like we'll ask you relationship-based questions, and I think that actually affects the game's outcome or how harder the puzzles get based on how loyal or terrible of a human being you are.
Then you run into the puzzles. Now, I know all that other stuff is it's crazy and it's hard for us to explain, but now the puzzles is what really captivated me because it was something I'd never seen before.
So the puzzle system is almost like a rock climbing thing, but you're pulling out these square blocks that you then climb up. So you're building a set of stairs out of these bricks that are kind of embedded in the wall, and you move around. You can shimmy on there. It's kind of got like Tomb Raider, I would say, climbing aspects where you can kind of shimmy along a wall,
it's ledge
pull
climbing.
yourself
Modern
up.
ledge
It's ledge climbing.
yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what I was trying to say. Thank you. No, I totally said that.
Get Tomb
Shut
Raider
up.
out of your head. We're past that.
I know. That was last episode. Hope you enjoyed it. It's the ledge climbing aspect, and you're working your way to the top while like this imminent like dark force, and I think there's like a knife that will come up and just like gash you if you don't get up high enough certain levels.
And it's brutally difficult.
It's super hard.
They do not baby you at all.
You panic. There's like other people too that you meet in the like dream world, and they're all trying to figure out what's happening there. And everyone you see all the other characters as sheep, and they see you as a sheep. So there's this whole like bizarre dream realm thing going on. It's just a really good puzzle game.
When you think of gems, a game like that is a gem because it's something that you experience that you'll never experience anywhere else.
Absolutely.
Atlas is pretty well known for some of their really weird like approaches to video games. That is by far the weirdest approach to any video game I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I think we can both say that we thoroughly enjoyed that. What's the next on your list, though, man?
Well, not to rant too hard on Nintendo again, but so I was going through my personal collection, and because GameStop, you go to GameStop, it's pretty much just all Switch stuff at this point. So I'm looking through all my different Wii and Wii U games, and even my 3DS and DS games. There are no games under $20. Like, I mean, Nintendo, not only...
So is this your most high-priced game, then?
Well, we have our gem at the end, but this is definitely the highest, and this one's a $20 game. So I'm still keeping in range, and you can still buy this one on Amazon and at GameStop.
I've actually seen copies of that still brand new at like a Walmart that they didn't sell copies of.
This is a game
for
that
like
is
$40.
This has gem written all over it because no one bought this game, and it is amazing.
I see
and,
that.
And the game is Fortune Street for Wii. Now, people love Monopoly, but people also love Dragon Quest and they love Mario. So let's throw it into a game together and make a sweet party game out of it. Sounds great on paper. It's even better on the console. Dude, I showed you this game. It is amazing, especially being a money financial guy.
Yeah, this is so up your alley. It's not even funny. It's Monopoly with stocks is how we kind of sell it to our friends that don't understand how to play it right away.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. All it is instead of buying houses, you invest money and just build up the value of each property.
So let's use the Monopoly style thing. So you can buy stock in like Boardwalk per se, and Boardwalk is going to be your most lucrative ideal area. But depending on how invested someone is on those, if they have hotels on there, that stock is worth more. I'm pretty sure you've played the game in two separate ways. One where you've bought almost every property on the map where you're earning every time someone's landing on your stuff.
I basically monopolized the map.
It. But then I know that you've also gone and
I beat you by monopolizing stocks on your properties.
Where I owned the entire board, but I had no stock. And anytime that I would invest in my properties to charge you more money,
the stock went up.
So
every time you gained, I gained. But the difference is with stock, you can perpetually gain faster than you can, because I have to land on your property for you to really get anything. But I don't have to land on anything for the stock value to go up.
Yep, because you can have other people land on other people's property and still make money off of it.
Yep. So it really
and then you can also tank someone's stock by selling all of it and making it worthless.
Yep. It really has a couple different approaches that Monopoly really struggles to vary the game per play. Like, I never feel like in Monopoly, if you're starting to do bad and the other person's getting all the best hits, they grow momentum and you don't. But in this game, and we forgot the biggest feature.
Buyouts.
If someone has a property that's just screwing you over, and say they have the Boardwalk and Park Place on the map, you can buy their Boardwalk for 5 times its value. It will tank you, but it also tanks them.
Yes, because then it depreciates that stock, because if the more of a monopoly you have, the more that block of stocks, because those properties are worth. And you could just go and wreck someone's day.
So if you're having a bad game, you can make sure everyone else is having a bad game with you. And it's a great aspect to the game because it adds another element of surprise, because especially the PCs, because those PCs can either be brutally difficult or just crazy off the wall decision making.
But it's also fair in the board game sense, because it is a board game. You're traveling around a board.
Yep.
It's fair in the sense that you have to land on that property, have enough money to buy them out, because as soon as you're bankrupt, you can set the bankruptcy limit too. So like if you go, hey, let's just do it till the first person's out, then we'll call it. Or you can do it up to, we've done, I think, 3-person bankrupt limit, so it comes down to whoever's the last man standing. And it's cool because you can go and you can still trade and offer different properties, so you can swap, and there's enough options in there. So all the traditional things from Monopoly is there, but it's unique enough to go and make you be able to completely play the game in a whole new way and experience it and hate your friends even more so.
And Donkey Kong's a cheat.
Donkey Kong is a cheat.
Every time that money's coming from, he'll be the most aggressive player on the whole board, and somehow he gets it every time.
He'll have no money, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, guess who just got some free stock from the chance section.
Yeah, he's the master of chance.
Yeah, he lucks out. His luck in that game, I don't know.
But
I think that it's rigged.
Even so, the game offers and also there's 20 maps. So
yeah.
I mean, this game not only
the boards are very different and unique. There's the Mario Galaxy type map. There's a baseball shaped diamond. So yeah, the layout of it's like if you were to go and rearrange all the order and pieces of a Monopoly board.
Yep. And so, I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's a gem because look how much we could already say about it. It's a unique game. No one bought it, so
it's easily explainable too. I know a lot of our older stuff is kind of weird and hard to explain. This at least combines
I would say 15 minutes to teach.
15 minutes to teach?
Yeah.
Oh, easy.
I think
by the time you do about 2-3 rounds around the board, you kind of have an idea on what's going on.
The stock thing takes a little bit longer, but if you are a little bit older, you'll pick it up fast. If you're a little bit younger,
what age would you recommend? Because it says E for everyone because there's no violence or anything,
but
that is clearly not the age for skill level.
I would probably say, you think Monopoly, the actual Monopoly board game is 8 years old is kind of the starting point where they draw people in. I would say probably 10 for Fortune Street, just slightly older where they understand more of the concept of money. And the stock thing, maybe 12 if they want to really.
I'd say 15. Well, there's a simple mode on there too. We should say.
And so I mean, I at some point I will be playing this with my kids, and I'll be able to test out if this is a kid-friendly game or not with my 9-year-old.
I will expect a report back from you.
Yeah,
then.
I think that'll be good. Especially we're gonna do an episode up soon for all you parents out there that I need to really break down some games because I've experienced some really nasty games and some really great games for parents who have to sit with their kids and play.
Yeah, so we're expanding out. Like we said, this episode was actually user submitted.
Yep, and we're always looking for more feedback. You guys got some? Let us know, and we'll check it out.
If you got thoughts for ideas, let us know. That's actually what this whole thing was based off of. All right.
So what do you got next?
So, keeping with the money theme, look how I transitioned that. Ooh, get me a segue because that was so good.
And just to point out, during this whole process, until we started, we had no idea what each of us picked for games. We really went out there, and because we didn't want to really, I guess, put our opinions on each other while we were picking games. So,
no, absolutely not.
So we really went with our own personal personalities on how we approached the games. So each game that we have are very personal to ourselves, but being friends for as long as we have, we've kind of seen these games.
There's some crossover.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of like, I know what you have in your collection. What did you pick?
So let's hear it.
So for this one, I chose actually One Piece, not the anime. I cannot stress that enough. One Piece for PlayStation, original PlayStation. Anytime I try to find this game, because it took me forever to find this damn game. I played it once accidentally, thought it was kind of cool, unique, and weird. And it's an apartment management sim is the best way to describe it.
That is a perfect way to explain it.
But it's made by Capcom. And the idea is you want to keep your good residents and get rid of your bad residents. And you do that by controlling their happiness. And it's like you get little blocks, and each block's an apartment. And your apartment goes and holds these tenants. And each tenant you put in has benefits or bad things. So like one person might be pleasant to their neighbors above them, where even though they're pleasant to their neighbors above them, they are terrible to their neighbors below them. So that neighbor below them is getting this terrible bad reputation from the neighbors above them. So you got to put like a neighbor to their like left side or something that will give them like positive vibes.
You have to manage the moods.
You have to manage the moods of each person, and it's all directional based. So you get like this weird thing where it's like you'll put a person there and they're doing like diagonals. Like the angles are the worst.
No, you win by total money, right? I don't remember.
I believe
how it
so.
ends.
I don't think I've actually ever won in that game. I've just
You're recommending a
continued to
game
play.
you've never won?
I don't think so. No, well, because it goes by days and everything. There's a time frame, so I think it maybe takes over the course of like a year. So it's like every 5 minutes is maybe a day or a week or something.
We need to play this game.
We need to play this again. Yeah, no, I'm down for it. I own it. It took, like I said, it took me forever to hunt down. It was made by Capcom. It has a very cool art style, and then there's different.
Isn't it is it Nickelodeon? I feel like I must be thinking of a different game. I thought Nickelodeon was on the front of it somewhere.
No.
Yep.
No. Okay, it has the Invader Sim art style. Is what I'll say.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking.
That's probably. I'm like, what are you smoking, man?
Okay, One Piece the anime.
Yeah.
There's like 100 of those games.
I know, which is why it's so hard to differentiate the thing. I think I ended up hunting this down off of. We were going to a race, weren't we? You were doing.
Yeah, I was doing a zombie dash, and we were hanging out with a friend of the show, and when we were
friend of the show,
Canada,
we were over at his place,
and his roommate had it, and she was selling it.
That's right, and she had it, and I'm like, oh my god, I want this. And I'm like, I will buy this off of you, and I was super
You basically
stoked.
begged her for it.
Oh, I did.
And she felt so bad, she sold it to you.
It's the nicest a woman's ever been to me.
It's funny because it's true.
All right, moving on. One Piece is just a really good game. It's made by, like I said, Capcom had a slew of really good PlayStation 1 game era stuff. They were on the Legends series at that point in time. Just a very unique game that you would not kind of expect by them. And I'm surprised that they haven't put this out as like a mobile title at this point in time. I feel like this would do really well on like a tablet.
I mean, just like Fortune Street, board games are so big right now. They're exploding in all these unique ways to play games. I'm wondering how much of that will eventually transition into consoles and mobile gaming, because Ticket to Ride and games like that are like really picking up steam and becoming more mainstream. Because I know Catan has been on PC forever.
Oh yeah.
I wonder how long it takes before
Risk. I played the crap out of some Risk
Factions.
Yep.
But I wonder how long it takes before some of these more unique games, they get kind of like the counter clones put on actual physical board games. Like where's my apartment manager on physical board?
Right.
So I wonder if that'll ever happen. So at this point, now we're going to go into our two big gem type games that we personally love, but they definitely cost more than $20.
This is you can afford or can't afford. Can I do mine first? Just because I don't have a copy of it anymore.
Yeah, go ahead. You feel bad about it, so I'll let you go first.
I feel bad. You at least have a physical copy.
Oh, I'm holding it because I cherish this game.
Yeah, you literally have that in your hands. See, I don't have mine, unfortunately, because I can't get another copy of it. Yes. Okay, so mine was Metal Warriors for the Super Nintendo. It was a awesome mech combat game that was level based, made by LucasArts, actually.
So Disney owns it now.
Oh my god, they totally do.
That means it'll never make it to video games again.
No.
That's the hell of all video games.
Oh, that sucks. They've canceled so much stuff, man. But really, really good game. Kind of has almost anime style cutscenes at the start of the game. Like, the animation is really way too good for an intro screen. LucasArts put a whole lot of love in there.
What kind of game is it? I guess would be a good way to start, because even I haven't played this game, and I hunted for this game for you for being my best man. And I remember every time I was close, either eBay shot up in price at the last moment, or the copy was like, the label was completely missing, or it makes noise when you shake it. I was like, we're gonna pass on. I'm not dropping out like $100 on a possible good game.
And the last time that I saw this game, I think it was going for about $300.
Dude, we saw it at C2E2 for $250.
I'm so pissed I didn't pick it up then. I really am. Like, that's so sad. Blow my entire
Metal
C2E2
Warriors
budget.
or Switch.
Yeah. Right?
That's crazy.
So
what kind of game is it?
So it is a mech side-scrolling game, but each one of the mechs behave differently, and you have the ability to get out of your suit to go and get into the other mechs. So you can kind of change up your play style. And when you get out of the mech, you also have the ability to go like hack consoles to open up doors and stuff, to go and open up other areas.
Is it turn-based?
No.
Okay,
this
so
is
it's active.
all actually active, side-scrolling. You can get different like power-ups and everything. You get like shoulder mounts from like little factory pods, so you can get like missiles. There's parts of the things where it's destructible terrain. Beautiful, gorgeous levels, massive. It would kind of, the way that I'd explain it to you, you being a Sega guy, is it plays like a Vector Man, but if you could switch out different suits.
Really?
Yes.
Which sounds awesome.
So like some of the mechs can fly. Some of them actually like skim across the ground real fast. There's like this giant tank that has no jumping ability, but you can actually drop bricks down to go and create bridges over gaps. It's just, each mech is super unique, super cool in its own way. And the best part of it, there's a 2-player versus mode.
Which I feel like every time we talk about games, every time there's a multiplayer function to it, it just accelerates like how great the game is. Because there's something about being able to play co-op or even versus in a video game that just, it makes you love it more, because I feel like you can always come back to that, and that competitive feeling is still there.
You get to bring your friends in. It's you enjoy the game. You enjoy the single player, and you've played it enough. But then you get to bring your friends into it. And if you're getting like 2 or 3 friends and you're like, hey, you guys play this against each other, they get the controls down with each other. And then you can come in with your mastery of controls and beat them and still have fun, because they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm actually enjoying this. Because you gotta put the people that haven't played against each other first. It's the biggest mistake you make as a child.
That's why I like doing a Nidhogg. Watch the 2 noobs just beating each other down.
Yes. Nidhogg, great game too. Why
we're not going there.
All right, we'll do a digital one eventually.
Yeah, but we'll have to go back to digital indie games.
All right, but what is your final expensive pick? Mine was
you say expensive,
$300.
So yeah. So my expensive pick is only $50. I recently rebought it because my disc was damaged. So I bought a new one because when I moved, I left it inside the PlayStation 2.
Oh no.
And
how did you damage a disc?
Well, it bounced all around, and when I took it out, it had a chip in the corner. So biggest amateur mistake for any console gamer: do not leave disc in console.
Pack up your stuff before you move it.
So the game I'm talking about is Shadow Hearts. Now, Shadow Hearts, I'm a huge PS2, actually I'm just a huge RPG fan, and it really started with the PlayStation and on forward.
You nerds and your numbers.
Yes.
RPG numbers. Stat boost. Charisma points.
Hey, my intelligence +5 right now.
Alrighty then.
You could really use some intelligence yourself over there.
Just because I don't have the same amount of gil in my pocket as you do.
Infinite, baby. So, Shadow Hearts. Shadow Hearts is it's a PS2 RPG But what makes it kind of stand out from all, like there were tons of 3D RPGs at the time where they were just pumping them out, and they were all very similar. Like I'm not even gonna go into how many different ones there are, but they're all very similar. But this one really stands out because it has a gothic story. Like it's all really like dark and mysterious. But what it has is it has a thing called a judgment ring system. Every time you attack, you spin a dial, and you have to hit X to stop the dial.
Oh.
And what you do is as you play through the game, you're modifying this dial to have bigger sections of areas on what kind of damage it does, what kind of multipliers. And there's always that one sliver.
So it's like an active battle system, but
on turn base.
Actively. So it's like Wheel of Fortune.
You know, in some ways, it has that Wheel of Fortune effect where, you know, there's like the one spot that's like amazing. Well, you get the status every time you do a turn-based fight. It keeps you involved, unlike the games where you just kind of press X to constantly attack. You lose that because you have to, because if you don't pay attention, you can just do really null attacks that don't do any damage. But this, you have all these different sections that you can modify. You can have a whole bunch of like really small, like 5% slivers that are just like ultra critical attacks, or you have the one that's like 95-0, or it's like that 5%, just instant kill. And this game was a really cool way to kind of change the turn-based RPG by keeping you involved, and that's missing out of so many.
That's got to be really fun for boss battles too, where you're going and you're just like trying to hit that one critical, and you're like, either I'm going to miss this shot or I'm going to win this in one shot.
Yeah, so it had those satisfying moments. Plus, it had like several really unique characters. Like it felt a lot like an RPG that's by Final Fantasy, because it had every character had like their own like little niche of like what they could do, and they're really obscure like look. So it had the iconic characters. It had a really great combat system, and what actually got me to play the first one is I played the second one because I bought it on a whim.
What's the second one on?
It's on PS2 as well. It's called Shadow Hearts Covenant.
Okay.
And it's actually an RPG that's based in an alternative World War II.
Oh.
So what they did is they took their franchise into like actual history and kind of changed it up, and it's awesome. And I like the second one, but it's one of those things where although you like the sequels, there's something about the original game that you can really relate to more so than the sequels to the game. This one's that game because the second and third one have a lot of fetch questing to it and a lot more like availability of upgrading weapons, and they really expanded on the sequelitis stuff where it just will make more of everything that was good about the game. But what it does is it takes away from the story of the game, and I don't want to talk about the story at all because I only remember the super spoily stuff.
Fair enough.
Like it had like kind of like in Final Fantasy VII where it had something really dramatic happen in the game. This game has it. I can't remember if it's early and obvious or if it's at the very end of the game. I haven't played it in probably 15 years.
But you finally got it picked up again.
I remember when I played it the first time, I played it through 4 straight times.
So wait, so you hadn't played it in like 15 years and yet you just decided to buy a copy?
It's one of those things where you're like, you talk to someone about the game and it's like, man, I need to play that. I went downstairs to look at the game and it was broken. And I was like, I need to get this game. And then it took me like a month to find the game. I buy the game. And then I just never got back to it.
Nice.
But I own it. And even by talking about it and holding it now, it makes me want to play it. And I feel like it would have been a lot easier if I could play it on my PlayStation 3 or my PlayStation 4. It'd be an easy game for me to just want to buy digital just out of its convenience. But getting the PS2 out, that's the unfortunate part about backwards compatibility. If you don't have it, it is a lot more work to kind of keep all the different systems hooked up. This is a great game. I recommend the whole Shadow Hearts series, really, because it's underwhelming. Like, the sales have always been underwhelming, and they're owned by Midway. And Midway, I mean, it's pretty much a dead RPG. I don't ever expect to see another game by the series.
And, well, I guess that's like all of our lists and everything, man.
I mean, I actually really like this. It was fun actually going out and looking. I went on even the GameStop website and I put under $5, and you would be amazed on how many games still popped up for like 33 cents. I'm like, come on, why is GameStop even selling games for 33 cents? Isn't it going to just cost them more to house the thing?
The cost to ship that and to actually hold on to it.
Do you want Just Dance 2011?
I really don't.
But they have a lot of them.
Well, yeah, so we're starting to take user submission, or not you. I keep saying user. Why do I keep saying user? People who use the account to go and listen to us.
They're listeners.
Yeah,
they're
listeners.
They're the listeners. We appreciate you guys listening to us each week, or every other week.
Every other week.
So if you guys have any ideas out there, let us know, because we have our own list of different episodes we want to do, but we'd like to kind of fill in between the episodes we want to do with the episodes you want to hear.
Absolutely. And yeah, I guess that's our show for the week.
See you.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Couch Trolls podcast. If you like this episode, you can find more on Facebook by searching Couch Trolls or on Twitter at Couch_Trolls. I'm your announcer, Canada Sanchez, with Brian doing the sound. Thanks for listening.